We're good to go. All right, say hi, Oladele. Thank you for sharing. Please, everyone, if you can, just share within the chat so I can get to know you guys a little bit better as well. Okay, so a little bit about myself. I currently lead our solution architecture team at Hootsuite. Essentially, I'm responsible for a team of solution architects that help to integrate Hootsuite systems with other systems. I came to Canada in 2015 in December. Nobody warned me against coming in December because it was, I don't know, it was an interesting experience. Please don't come in December because it's better to come during the summer and then you can ease your way into the winter. But anyways, in a lot of ways, I think I was really fortunate when I came to Canada. I was working at Oracle in Nigeria. My manager was really nice to me and introduced me to a bunch of hiring managers in North America, two specifically. So I started actually applying to jobs before I came to Canada. And I was lucky enough to get one before I actually came over. And I had two options. I had the option of going down the route of becoming what is referred to as a sales engineer. So someone who typically tells people about products and things like that. And I had another technical role, which was more around learning about integrations. The reason I tell you this particular aspect of my story is because there's a notion that, you know, it's better to go do the easy thing or things like that. And for me personally, I feel like for you to really succeed in Canada, you need to take roles that are indispensable, roles that people, if there were to be a 10% cut in an organization, you wouldn't be one of those people that is cut. So you want to take roles that are really important to the functioning of the organization, which is why I decided to take that technical role. Since then, I have joined other organizations. So I've worked for PwC here in Canada as a Salesforce consultant. I've led a practice at a company called Eclipses, and currently at my current company as a manager leading our solutions architecture team. Currently, I'm located in Ottawa. I actually moved about a month ago. I used to live in Toronto, but my wife insisted that we move to a smaller city that was much easier to commute around and you know, much simpler lifestyle and things like that. I recall when I was living in Lagos, I moved to Abuja as well. So kind of similar vibes in that sense. As you may know, I'm already showing my passion wearing my Manchester United jersey. So I'm really a huge football fan, and I also love podcasting about football. So that's just me in a nutshell. Really. So, what and why are we here today? Sorry? Did someone say something?
Okay, Ugo, please accept two people. I think we have two people at the.
Okay, yeah, I'm accepting that. I'm trying to juggle both things. Yeah, I think everybody is joined. I think everyone who is on the queue has joined in now. Did someone have a question? Because I heard someone it seems like someone had a question or something. No?
Yeah, so Oladele has introduced himself. Atinuke also has introduced herself.
All right, thanks Atinuke and Oladele for introducing yourselves. Please, everyone, if you can, do the same so I can tailor the presentation also to meet your expectations. So thank you guys for joining as well, for the new people who are joining in. So what is CRM? What is this all about? What is CRM all about? According to Salesforce, they refer to CRM as a technology for managing a company's relationships and its interactions with customers and potential customers. As far as I'm concerned, I think CRM is just a glorified spreadsheet, just a glorified way to organize your customers. And there are three main areas of CRM that typically are of interest to organizations, or three ways to categorize it. So there is a marketing, there's sales, and service. So I'll go through that journey just to explain why companies need a CRM system, why it's important, and how you can find a career in CRM to be exciting. So first and foremost, why? Why do you need this? Every organization is interested in understanding their customers. They want to know a lot about their customers because that's the only way you can treat your customers better. You can give them a better customer experience. You can service them better and things like that. Now, if you think about different products today and services today, the biggest differentiating factor between buying a particular product from another is no longer about the quality of the product, really. So if you think about things like the Samsung and iPhones and things like that, there's just little difference between those products these days. But what's really changing is the service that is around the product. Like what kind of experience are you having when you buy a particular product? I use a simple example here in Canada. There are major telco organizations, Rogers and there are major telco organizations here. There is Rogers, there's Bell, and there's TELUS, and the rest of them. And when I wanted to buy my telco service, I just started a live chat online, and I opened all of them on different screens and said, whoever responds to me first, I'm going to go with them. And during that experience, before one of the service providers was even able to respond to my message, the other one had already given me a quote. They've already set up my account. And that can make a huge load of difference in today's market. If you're talking to customers, it's huge for them to have, a seamless experience, a wonderful experience. And even some people believe that they would be willing to pay even more for a better experience versus, product differences and things like that, because there's just little differences these days between products within the same class. So for organizations, understanding their customer is key. It's really huge. It's the biggest thing. Everything they're fighting for, Facebook, Twitter, Google, everyone is fighting for the same data, customer data, trying to understand the customer. So it's really important for every organization to understand what's going on. So throughout the journey of that customer, you have marketing, which is the very first aspect, where you're acquiring new customers. You're trying to figure out exactly who are the best customers for me. Who do I need to market to? Who do I need to share my products and services to? And so that's the marketing aspect. So everything about your ad campaigns, your web campaigns, your television ads, your radio ads, all of that falls under marketing. But because you don't have an endless marketing budget, you want to make sure that you understand who your target audience is so that you can target them directly. And that's why it becomes very, very important to have that data from that particular point in time. So a lot of customers come to us and say, well, we don't understand where we should be spending our money these days. We don't know who exactly we should be targeting because we have just such limited funds for marketing. So how do we go about this? And we start to help them to figure out, okay, maybe people between the ages of 20 and 40 are your target market. Okay, and they live in a certain area or certain geographical region. People who have certain hobbies on Facebook, things like that become sort of how people start targeting that audience. So understanding that is really, really key. So the system that manages all of that is typically called a marketing automation system that manages the entire process of acquiring and targeting new customers. Okay. Now, once you acquire the customers, depending on what kind of solution, kind of company you are, the next step becomes how do I sell to them? Because now you know that this person is a lead, this person wants to buy the product, but how do you actually sell to them? And that's where the sales automation bit comes into play. And that is where you now have to have all the information about the customer, their first name, their last name, okay, what are they interested in buying from you? Which sales representative is talking to these people? And what is that conversation like? We sent them an email yesterday. I want to capture it in the system. We had a meeting with a few people from that particular company. I want to capture it in the system. So all those interactions, back and forth, every single thing, you want to capture that in the system for a lot of reasons. One, you want to be able to manage your whole sales team so that people are not fighting over company or fighting over the same customers. You want to make sure that each person understands what territory they're supposed to be focusing on, which areas they need to, which line of businesses they need to be focusing on, and everybody has an understanding. So if I meet Mr. A today and talk to them about the generator they're about to buy, I don't want another sales rep to go behind my back and go and talk to them. That can be avoided when everyone has a clear view of what's going on within the system. And I'm sure probably most of you have some experience working on a similar tool or a similar customer engagement solution one way or the other. But that's essentially what the aspect of sales actually handles. So once you're done with selling, you've gone through the contracting process, you've done the negotiation, you've configured the goods, now you've delivered the product. What happens next? If it's a generator as an example, okay, we need to deploy this generator, we need to get it up and running in your house and things like that. How do we go about that? What are the things that we need to do to make that happen? And that's where service comes into play. When I have a problem during that installation phase or after the installation phase, someone calls up and says, oh, I have a problem right now. I want to record that. I want to capture that particular problem. I want to know for sure, okay, this is the problem this person is going through. And I want to be able to capture that and ensure that, that I can solve their problem for them. But also, if they called tomorrow and another agent is talking to them, that agent needs to know what the person who talked to them yesterday was talking about. And that's just essentially for a seamless customer experience. You want to have the full understanding of your customer. And what you would hear a lot of people talk about, and you hear it in interviews, you hear it in sales calls, you hear it anytime CRM or customers are talked about, the biggest factor for every organization is, I want to have a 360-degree view of my customer. So whether it is from a sales perspective, from the after sales service, from a marketing perspective, every single interaction I have with my customer, I want to be aware of it. I want to be able to report on it. I want to be able to have visibility into it. And essentially, that is the customer relationship management in a nutshell. And before I move on to the next slide, I want to know if anyone has any specific questions based on what we've covered so far. If you do, feel free to go off mute and ask your question. If not, if you feel more comfortable typing your question, please feel free to do so as well. I'll just be looking into the chat. By the way, Tinude, welcome. Thanks for introducing yourself. Hefiziba Osuji, welcome, and Mide as well. Thank you guys for providing that those great introductions. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So I think from Mide's introduction, she seems to have interactions with clients on a daily basis. So she probably has a grasp of what you're talking about, but she doesn't just know that what she's practicing is customer relationship management. If you understand what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. So Mide, in that regard, can you tell me, what sort of systems are you guys using to manage your customers today? And if you don't mind sharing.
Okay, and then also please accept people into the room and don't forget to record.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mide, Olateju is also a customer service and banking operations.
Amazing. This is really great. So if you have any questions, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask those questions within the chat, or you can go off mute and ask your questions as well, or we can proceed if you don't have any questions for now.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So in terms of sort of how to organize these customer records or customer information, there are several solutions that you could use. There's several solutions you could use. But the top solutions, at least in North America, which will be our focus and of our emphasis today, would be Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics 365, and HubSpot. Now, globally, Salesforce is the leader when it comes to CRM. Microsoft Dynamics is a close second, but for most organizations, the company I work for right now, we use Salesforce. PwC uses Salesforce. Google, Intel, Twitter, most organizations that I know, most of the organizations that are even here in Canada, the top enterprise organizations that you might be having a chance to work in and things like that are all using Salesforce. So Salesforce dominates that space clearly, and which is why a knowledge of Salesforce becomes very, very critical to land certain jobs. Now, the knowledge of Salesforce in itself might not just be about landing we'll talk about the career paths and career opportunities and things like that. It might not just be about only the career paths from a Salesforce perspective. It can also be about just even acing your regular interview for just normal stuff. Just knowledge of Salesforce could drastically increase your chances of landing other jobs in other areas outside of IT or outside of becoming a CRM consultant or a CRM administrator or whatever it is that you might want to do. So it's really important beyond just getting into the space itself deeply. So I would encourage everyone to go and try and understand what Salesforce is all about. Go and read. They have amazing articles. They have amazing videos on YouTube. They have wonderful training resources that you can go and read about it. So even if you're not necessarily interested in going deeper to become a CRM consultant, it will help your chances a lot if you are able to understand how it actually works. So why should you be interested in Salesforce? Like I said, they dominate the market. A study by, I think it's IDC, projects that by 2022, 3.3 million jobs will be attributed to the Salesforce ecosystem. So that could be a Salesforce consultant, a Salesforce administrator, a Salesforce developer, a solution architect, an integrator, a security analyst, whatever it is. And as a result, you have to be aware of the fact that Salesforce is a huge, huge, huge driver of jobs. And I want to just show you a very, very simple illustration of what that looks like today. So I'm just going to open up my LinkedIn inbox to share with you guys. And I want to show you all the job requests that come to me only on almost, from time to time. I think once a week at the very least. Okay, this guy on July 20th. Looking for a Salesforce architect. July 3rd, looking for someone who has SaaS knowledge, but Salesforce is key because our CRM is Salesforce. Who is this guy? Okay, yeah, this is another one. I think this also, when I spoke to them, they also talked about Salesforce. Okay, yeah, Salesforce architect, again. This one, again, this was about digital transformation, but yes, at Rogers, but yes, it was about Salesforce eventually when I spoke to them. And the list goes on and on and on. So almost on a weekly basis, I get a job, someone invited me to come participate in with regards to Salesforce and things like that. And as I go, if I go deeper, you see, oh, we're looking for someone who understands Salesforce business analyst role at Maverick Digital. So it's a huge driver. When you go on job sites, most of the jobs that you're going to be seeing would have something to do with Salesforce, which is really, really key when you're looking for a career path. Are there jobs? Is there a healthy supply of jobs for this career path that I am choosing to go on? And if there is, what areas should I be focusing on? Another huge number from a Salesforce perspective is that they're having 25% year-on-year growth. So essentially, their revenue is growing like at a crazy rate. Like it's crazy to think that a company is growing at 25%. A 10% growth rate would be considered amazing, but growing at 25% is just insane. And that's the growth rate for Salesforce. So every organization is pivoting, moving into that space, trying to get Salesforce implemented within their system, within their organization to manage their customers. So their install base is just continuously growing, and it's becoming crazy, to be honest. That same article suggested that by 2022, the revenue generated by the Salesforce ecosystem is going to be as much as $859 billion, which is huge too. So these indicators are some of the things that you have to be looking at. What is their market capitalization? What is their annual revenue? I think their annual revenue for this past year was around 17 billion, something like that. So those things are indicators as to how many people are buying the Salesforce platform to start with, which shows how many people need people to help them administer, maintain, implement those Salesforce platforms. So that's why there is an opportunity there. The other thing to think about is, why is it really good for you? Like I said, there are various entry points. So you don't have to be this master developer or something like that, working, being a developer or whatever it is, like a geek or whatever, or, some, huge developer, maths crazy genius to be in Salesforce. So you can either enter as an administrator, you can enter as a developer, as a consultant, or an architect. Now, the great thing about Salesforce as well is that their system is so open that you can learn about it easily. So the training is easily accessible. It's free for everyone to access. They have trailheads, which is really a beautiful, digestible way to understand the product, which doesn't talk about just the product itself, but also talks about more about business processes and things like that, which is really cool. They have free playgrounds. So if you're trying to play around with the tool, you can easily just sign up for as many playgrounds as you want, which is really nice. They have cookbooks, which just tells you how Salesforce is being used in organizations, sample implementations and things like that you can work with. And then you have very easily digestible documentation, because that is really key in trying to understand any platform at all. How digestible the documentation plays a huge role. I've seen quite a lot of systems that have terrible documentation. Once you open it up, it becomes really overwhelming, becomes terrible, just difficult to read and things like that. And that bogs you down and discourages you from continuing with it. So the huge and big thing about Salesforce here is that the training is easily accessible and easy to use, easy to understand. They have various levels that you could start with. You can start at the beginner level and keep growing. And then finally, in terms of the ecosystem, like I said, every single industry, like I said, every company that I've worked for since I came to Canada, it has used Salesforce. There is, consulting, so you could be joining a company like PwC or a company like Accenture or Deloitte or KPMG to help implement Salesforce. There are quite a lot of those sort of companies, dozens and dozens of them. So when you saw the list from my inbox and LinkedIn, you see quite a different organizations or different people that would love for you to join them and help consult on Salesforce. Then you have system integrators, the guys who do more of integrations and things like that. And then Salesforce themselves. Actually, one of the stories I didn't tell you was that before I came, I reached out to dozens of people trying to figure out if I could join Salesforce itself as a company. And I actually, went through their interview process, but unfortunately I couldn't get the job because they had a hiring freeze afterwards. And during that particular process, it was great to learn about them and learn about the opportunities that are there. So you could be a customer success manager, you could be a sales engineer, you could be a sales consultant, you could be an architect at Salesforce. There's so many different roles as well. So Salesforce themselves are huge employers. I saw some people who talked about some of their industry knowledge, and that is really huge, because when you have the industry knowledge merged with an understanding of the technical way Salesforce works, it means you can become a subject matter expert at building certain systems for specific people as well. So I'm going to pause and see if anyone has any questions. I'm just going to read. I think Dolapo has a question. Would love to dig deep into these. Business analysis, CRM, etc. Okay. Have some experience working with Microsoft Dynamics CRM and BI. Okay. And okay. So yeah, I mean, in terms of business analysis, in terms of, okay, my name is Ogana. Did you need any certification to go to the CRM? Okay, I'll answer that question. I'll go in a second. So Dolapo, in terms of business analysis, yes. I think that falls under the consultant categorization here. So you can become a business analyst, and essentially your job would be to understand a client's need to implement Salesforce. What are their requirements? What are the things that you need to implement? You can digest those requirements and actually start designing a solution that the developers can implement. So there are a lot of opportunities in that regard. I think one of the job people, the recruiters who reached out to me was asking about a business analyst role. Although certifications are really important, and that's really, you know, one of the big things that I'm going to be talking about as well would be certifications. Yeah, so Ogor had a question, and he was asking if what type of certifications are required to get into the CRM space. There are quite a number of certifications that you can go into depending on which area you're going to. So you could do administrator certifications. Actually, I met a Nigerian girl that just recently moved to Canada. She's actually our Salesforce administrator at Hootsuite. And she just had a Salesforce admin certification. I think that was all she had. So yeah, so I think having certifications is very important. It actually edges the competition out. So someone might come out and say, well, I understand Salesforce, it's what I do. It's, you know, I'm a professional or whatever it is. But the only thing that certifies that you're a professional is having a certification. That's the only way you can separate yourself from the rest of people who will be also applying for the same roles. But one thing I would say though is that having a certification in itself is not a guarantee that you're going to get a job. It's also how you prepare for the interview, how you're searching for jobs. You know, who are you reaching out to? How are you reaching out? So some people would go on the Indeed website and click on apply, and you're just getting into a list of people who have applied on Indeed. But sometimes you might need to approach things differently. So for instance, I typically love to contact the hiring manager directly and reach out to them directly and say, you know, I want to learn more about what you're trying to do. That way you're putting yourself in front of the queue. So those sort of small things can really, really help you, which is really what I'm here for, to help you kind of prepare for that, prepare the certification itself, coach you on how to prepare for a career on the Salesforce path, how to search for a job, help you with networking and referrals. So I have some good networks within that Salesforce space, whether it's people ex-PwC, my PwC, folks, or people in Accenture, or people even in Salesforce themselves. So because it's such a small ecosystem, we have, you know, kind of a lot of relationships that are firing around. So when people, even when these recruiters reach out to me and say, well, I you know, are you willing to take this job, or can you refer someone else? And typically I'm like, oh, I'm trying to remember who should I refer and things like that. So those sort of opportunities would be some of what you get with what we will be doing together in terms of building the foundations, helping you to prepare for interviews. You know, what are the gotchas? What are those things that are the hiring manager is looking for, or how do you even scale that first interview and continue to progress when you meet higher level people that you're going to be talking to? What are the things that you're going to be looking at? In terms of the remuneration from a Salesforce perspective, from a salary perspective, I think a typical consultant in Salesforce can earn as much as $150 an hour. So some people earn, junior developers are earning $70 an hour. Administrators are earning between $50 to $60 an hour. So it remunerates very, very well from my perspective. Actually, I was talking to someone this morning who was telling me he's a developer. He was telling me that he was He's about to get another job. He's actually a dynamics engineer, but he's about to get another job, and he's looking at 120K a year. That's what he's going to be. So when he joined, when he came to Canada, his starting salary was 55K or something, and he's gone all the way to 120K. And so those are kind of things you can see when you start to add things like certifications, when you learn about these technologies even more so. So I think there is definitely quite a lot of opportunities for people who are looking to get themselves involved. Like I said in the last slide, the very first step is administrator. So when you start off as an administrator, basically you don't need to understand code that much. You don't need to write Apex code, which is the main language for Salesforce. You just need to understand how business processes work and how to configure stuff. So think about it. When I said it's a glorified spreadsheet, it really is a glorified spreadsheet if you think about it. So I want to capture first name, last name, and email address of my customer today. Okay, but we want to add some more information. We want to learn more about whether they're a male or female. Can you create a field for us to understand that? Okay, that could be a job for an administrator to do. Okay, we want this to happen whenever a customer calls. We want several actions to happen. How can you configure those actions? So those are the things that you'll be doing as an administrator. So you never need to write code, but you need to use a drag and drop or point and click to declare, to declaratively configure the system and things like that. So it's pretty much easier. But at the same time, I have to say this very, very clearly, that the more technical roles that you get, the better your chances of getting the job. Because the whole reason Canada is opening their arms to accept people is for high skilled workers. So they're looking for people to fill up specific gaps that they have. So typically maybe a young white Canadian might be thinking of, oh, I want to go study political science or something like that. I want to do something that is easy. No offense to people who have studied political science, by the way, but I'm just saying. But then I studied economics myself, so I'm not I'm not even trying to be weird or anything like that. I'm not trying to. But the point I'm making though is that the more technical skills you can learn, the more sticky that you can be, the more assured about your job you can get. And sometimes people might tell themselves, I'm not a developer, I'm not a technical person at all. It's not me, it's not who I am, I've never done it before. But, the days have passed when you need to be a genius, a mathematical genius for you to be a developer. These days, the biggest tool to become a developer, the biggest tool to become great in this sector, IT sector, is really about understanding how to research. Can you use your search engine to find the information that you need? That's really the biggest tool that you need. And those are the kind of things that I will be talking about. Those are the kind of things that I'll be helping you to navigate, how to think about problems, how to solve those problems, no matter how technical they are, how to find those solutions, because that's really what most developers do. They spend most of their time going online, going on forums and things like that, going to try to find the solutions to problems, because most people have done what you want to do already. So it's already there. Someone has done it. Someone has made a video about it already. So really I would encourage everyone not to be too scared about getting into more technical roles. It actually enhances your chances of earning more, of landing a job. I have a friend, his wife came to Canada 2 years ago. She studied real estate engineering, real estate and land and urban something planning, I think, something like that. Then she went to do her master's in the UK. She did environmental management. When she came to Canada, she realized that environmental management in the UK is completely different here in Canada. So you have to either go back to school and do that. But what she did actually was to go and start teaching herself how to code. And right now, she works for a company called Ceridian, and she is a developer there. In 2 years, she's become a developer. And she had no knowledge of it prior to when she came here. So again, the limitations about what you can achieve, it's really all in the mind. And I believe that you can achieve anything you want to achieve if you set your mind to it. There's a question in the group chat from Tinuade. Sorry if I'm butchering that name. How can a school teacher with obviously no CRM background transition into CRM? Is it even possible? Absolutely, absolutely. Most of my colleagues and most of the people I've worked with in terms of implementing systems and stuff like that they didn't have prior understanding of CRMs or anything like that. Nobody studies CRMs in school, as an example. So it's more about, you can train yourself, you can get the certification, you can latch onto projects, and you can get those jobs. It is possible for you to get those jobs even without prior experience of the solutions. As long as you can do the certifications, you can read about it, you can prepare for the interviews, you'll be able to land those jobs. When I was at PwC, for instance, most of the people I was working with, some of the people I was working with, one of them told me that they were nano scientists, nanotechnology scientists or something like that, and nothing to do with Salesforce, nothing to do with IT and stuff like that, and they were in there. So it has, you can absolutely do it regardless of what your background is. So this is actually an opportunity for us to continue to answer questions. So please put your questions in the group chat. I'll be monitoring to see if anyone has any questions as well. Okay, thanks Tinuade as well. So like I said, the service I'm offering would be two services: building the foundations with helping you prepare for the certification, and the second part is preparing for the job interview, but also helping you from a cultural point of view. Because the one thing about Canada, the transition from Nigeria to Canada that I learned very, very quickly is that it's different culture, right? It's different culture. People talk differently. People may, like for instance, at first when I came, I always wondered why people didn't laugh at my jokes. I thought I was being funny, but people wouldn't laugh, and that's because of the cultural difference and things like that. People sometimes, because I have an accent, so when I say something, people might want to maybe not understand what I've said immediately. Then I have to readjust and try to speak a little bit more clearly or something like that. So that cultural aspect is also very important, and sharing my experiences with you about that is very, very valuable in succeeding even after you get a job. Okay, thanks Bisola Alabi. How is CRM different from customer service? Now, customer service is an aspect of CRM. Now, the thing is that in recent times, people call the sales automation solution, they call it CRM. But the entire thing, everything about customer relationship management, whether it is marketing, sales, or the after sales service, all falls within the CRM bracket. But customer service is an aspect of CRM that deals with the after sales service. So I have a problem with my generator, I need help, I have a problem with my installation, or whatever it is. Can you help me out? How you manage those interactions is what customer service is all about. Kayode, thanks for your question. Just like Tinade has asked, won't recruiter peruse your CV and find out that you have no experience in CRM? How do we just oppose that with someone in engineering who intends changing career? That's a great question. Recruiters will look through your CV, of course. They will, there will be that, okay, relative experience and blah, blah, blah. But it's about how you interpret what you have done. When you're writing your CV, you have to craft your CV for each job interview. And that's something you have to do. Each job interview you go for, you have to craft a different CV for it, depending on what area it is. And you can translate your experience in different sectors into things that are related to becoming a CRM consultant. So as a teacher, as an example, there are training opportunities in CRM. Now I have learned CRM. Now I can use my teaching experience to help people, train people during deployments. Part of the deployment process is to train people on how to use CRM. That could be an aspect of the job that you could help with. I can convince people better I can help with adoption of the platform if I can teach them how to adopt the platform. It's all about interpretation. And as long as you can highlight that strongly during your interview process and you have a strong command of the Salesforce platform, then yes, people start to think about it. Now, being an engineer, going into CRM, they would love you because they love the way you're thinking already. They love that you have that mathematical thinking, you have that engineering experience about problem solving, because a lot of what you're going to be doing on a day-to-day is problem solving. They want to learn, they want to be able to extrapolate that capability as long as you understand what the solution is all about. Bringing those problem-solving capabilities does help. And there are a lot of examples. I have so many people who have changed career from one career to a Salesforce administrator or all these other tech-related careers. My wife, for instance, is a pharmacist. And she did have certifications and things like that. And she just recently started, she got an admission to do health informatics because she really understands how important that is becoming even in their own sector. And you would think that, okay, she has a pharmacy job, she's fine, she should be okay. But no, she still needs to hop into more information system thinking, because that's really what the world's about. And COVID-19 has changed the game entirely. Companies that were thinking and waiting like years to do their digital transformation are beginning to do it now. So the number of people who are hiring and trying to do all these digital transformation type of projects are increasing. So this is a good time to be getting into the sector, generally speaking, whether it's a CRM or any other tech job that you might be interested in. I hope that answers your question, Kayode. So do we have any other question? I think please feel free to get off mute as well and ask questions, because maybe you have a longer question that's much difficult to type. I'm ready to answer those questions as well. Can we have a look at the Salesforce user interface? Well, I wasn't intending to show that, but I'm happy to show you an example. Let me see if I can pull up one of my environments. Just 1 second here. Let's see. Let's log into Salesforce. Just have to pull this down here. Ogo, thank you for your question. Would people be willing to hire people outside Canada without certification but experience in customer service? Now, Ogo, please, if you can get out of me, that would be great, because I want to ask you this a follow-up question to that. When you say hire people outside of Canada, are you referring to just working from the location that you're currently at outside of Canada? Would that be what you're referring to? So there are a few challenges when it comes to hiring people that are outside of Canada, and that's why companies would be skeptical to do that. There are tax implications when you hire someone who is not within a particular tax locale. So finishing up the documentation about your resumption and things like that becomes really, really difficult. So they would not be too open about that until you get here, because, you know, are you going to be paying the tax to Nigeria, to Canada, to what state? You know, things like that really complicates those sort of situations, and that's why it's more difficult to get a job even from outside of Canada. I think you added something to that. Maybe put the resumption date on hold. Yeah, it's always difficult to make. I mean, you'd have to be a really, really great resource for them to want to do something like that. And because there are a lot of people, there's a lot of competition. So it might be very, very difficult to swing that. Okay, so like someone requested to see what the Salesforce interface looks like. This is what it looks like. This is what the home interface looks like. Like I said, anyone can really get into this and do stuff, and it's pretty easy to use. It's pretty intuitive. So let's say I wanted to create a lead. As an example, this is typically what it would look like. I can create new leads. And essentially, as an administrator or as a consultant, your job is to change this page, for instance, to suit the business requirements. Okay, I don't want all of this information on the screen. I want different fields on the screen. How do I do that? And it's pretty simple because Salesforce makes these sort of things very easy to manipulate your page layouts, to manipulate fields. And so those are the kind of things that we'll be talking about during our classes. If you are interested in joining those classes, it's going to be about an 8-week class, about 40 hours, give or take, to explain all of this and prepare you for the certification. I'll share some of the resources that I use whenever I'm doing my own certifications as well, and the best method to prepare for for certifications, because you don't want to boil the ocean when you're about to read about this. So I'll just try to walk you through the fastest way to go about it, and not just to pass the certification, but to also understand the solution, because passing the certification is very easy. Based on experience, how long would it take to complete the Salesforce solution certification level? Are you referring to, because I'm trying to understand what you mean by that. Let me see if I understand. I'm just going to mute people. So how long is it going to take to get a Salesforce solution certification level? It depends on the certification you're looking at. So if it's administration certification, I would say you need to prepare, for a number of weeks, but it depends on the level you are at, and those are the kind of things that we will gauge. I will work with you to explain the basics and work with you to understand how it's going to work. Do we need any accounting, finance background before opting for certification? No, you don't. Based on experience, how long will it take to complete Salesforce length of course? The course I'm going to be offering is administration. It's going to take about 8 weeks. So 2 days, Saturday and Sundays, because I obviously I can't do anything Monday to Friday, but Saturday, Sundays, about 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 30 minutes on a daily basis. And then obviously there are other resources that you have to be reading yourself and things like that. So I would say give or take within that 8 weeks, you should be ready. Okay. All right. Do we have more questions? None for now. Okay. All right. So please, if you have any sort of questions, please route those questions through B. Can the certificate be evaluated by WES? No. WES is more for your educational certification, so only your degrees and stuff like that. The certification is purely for employment purposes. It's for people who are looking to get employed. The name of the certification is a Salesforce Administration Certification. That is the certification. There are 2 levels of the Salesforce Administration Certification. There is the Administrator 1 and Administrator 2. Well, Administrator 1 should be sufficient. Kayode is asking, Salesforce is the starting journey to becoming a BA. No, not necessarily. Becoming a BA is independent, but you can become a Salesforce BA by understanding Salesforce. So you can become a BA who deals with different other systems, or you're working within a system, you're working for a systems integrator or for a consulting company, and you're helping people build out applications or building out or consulting on other systems. But you can become a Salesforce business analyst if you understand Salesforce. Are there entry virtual job opportunities for Salesforce? Now, this is an interesting question, because with COVID-19, everyone is working from home. I've been working from home since December. Most companies are currently doing virtual working, that is going to continue for a while until we get a vaccine and stuff like that. So I would say at the moment, yes, there will be opportunities for that. But whether that continues for a long time, again, you need to be within the geographical location of Canada because of the tax issues that I talked about earlier on, because that's solely what it is. I mean, I think that everybody would be happy to hire anyone from anywhere, but those sort of things are really critical. Like there's different policies for different regions and things like that to take into consideration. I hope that answers your question, Adebisi. I'm also going to stay on and listen for more questions. But please, if you are interested in learning more or in enrolling for the classes, please reach out to B and she'll give you more information. But for now, I'm just going to stay online and answer any more questions that come in. Oh, maybe I should answer this question again because you've replaced the virtual with level, I believe. So are there entry-level job opportunities for Salesforce? Yes, there are. Administrator jobs are typically entry level. I did mention one of my colleagues who's actually a Nigerian. She's our junior administrator here at Hootsuite for Salesforce, and it is sort of an entry level position. Please feel free to go off mute as well if you would love to answer. What programming is required in Salesforce developer? To become a Salesforce developer, you need to learn a couple of languages because, traditionally Apex is a language, it's based on Java, but Salesforce has been making a shift towards JavaScript-based frameworks. So they have this particular page you're looking at is called the Lightning Experience, which is their newer experience, and that is based on some JavaScript framework. So I think knowledge of JavaScript would help you, as well as knowledge of a little bit of Java. The language is called Apex. I actually have a friend who can take you on that course if you're interested. If you're interested in going deep into the developer side of things, I have people who can take you on the developer course. We can get you prepared for that as well if that's something that interests you. But yeah, it will be Apex and a little bit of JavaScript for the Lightning experience. Thanks, Kayode, for the questions, by the way. And you can ask me questions beyond the Salesforce side, anything about jobs in Canada and things like that. I'm happy to answer those as well. What is the cost of the certification course? So right now for the admin program, as well as coaching after you do the certification course, it's going to be $80,000 for that period per person. That's what it's going to look like. And the other question is, the Salesforce developer has its certification, correct? Yes, Kayode. It does have its own certification. So there's developer 1, there's developer 2, there's app builder, there's all the way to architect. You can go the full spectrum. Actually, one of the things that I would love to do is to get all the way to my certification in terms of architects. I know some Salesforce technical architects who've done all the certifications, about 13 certifications or something like that. And yeah, so if you're looking to maybe chat with someone like that to pick their brains and things like that, I'm happy to facilitate those introductions as well. What determines how soon one gets a job when he gets to Canada? Preparation, Chidi, is all about preparation. It's about one, knowing where you want to go, what type of job are you looking to get, and preparing for that job. And that's what it is. And I think the one thing I can say, confidently, is that if you prepare very well for those job opportunities, you will get them, especially in the tech sector. It's almost, I don't want to say guaranteed because nothing is guaranteed, but it is, there's a very high chance that you get a job in the tech sector if you're prepared for it. If you have the knowledge, you've done a few certifications, you can go into an interview and hold your own and discuss that confidently, you will typically get a job. So it depends. So I've had friends who've come here, it took them 3 months, people who've come, it's taken them, 1 month. Some people took them 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Some people come and takes them 4 or 5 months. So it depends on your level of preparation, in my opinion. The other question just came in from Galaxy Tab A with S Pen. Interesting name. With the certification course of my experience in customer service and banking operations, what type of job opportunities will I be looking at? So there are different job opportunities you can look at. Now, if you do the certification in admin and do something like maybe platform app builder as an example, you can be going into a BA role because you have industry knowledge combined with knowledge of Salesforce configuration. Then you can become a business analyst. You can get into those consultant roles, in organizations that are looking for people who have both industry knowledge as well as the ability to configure Salesforce. You can become a Salesforce administrator as well in certain places, in organizations that are running Salesforce, especially for organizations that are running Salesforce within their customer service as a customer service solution. But I think in terms of thinking bigger, I would say there are opportunities for consultant roles because you have both industry knowledge and understanding of the solutions as well. I wouldn't claim to know much about financial analyst roles at Tinuke. I am happy to, probably if you reach out to me, I can point you in the right direction to someone who can answer that question, but I'm not necessarily a finance analyst expert, so I don't want to presume that I know much about it. However, the Salesforce has a financial cloud, there's QuickBooks, there are all these other systems, Oracle Finance and things like that can put you in good stead if you have knowledge of those sort of systems. But again, I'm not saying that's exactly what you need to do because I don't know for sure. Are we coming back after the kicking out? If there are more questions, I'm happy to do maybe 20 more minutes if you guys are, if there are more questions, but if not, then we might wrap it up. Is it possible to organize a group course to reduce the certificate course? Let's have that chat, Galaxy Tab A 2016 with S Pen. We can have that chat. Maybe you can have the chat with me to start with, and we can discuss that. Can someone get a job from Nigeria with the certification? Again, if you're talking about applying from Nigeria, that is great. But if you're talking about working from Nigeria, then there are geographical concerns. So you may not be able to get that job in Nigeria. But from Nigeria, absolutely. Actually, I have a friend who just he's been living here, but he just recently went to Nigeria to get married, and then he was also looking for a job, and he was able to land a job there, and he's coming back to get it. But then that's different because at least he has an address here. But nobody's going to be willing to give you a job if you don't have at least an address at the very least here in Canada, because the tax concerns around that. My name is Gochko Suji Chidi. That's my name, and that's my name on LinkedIn as well. But if you want to get my contact information, please share within the group, and we would, get you in contact with me as well. Thanks, Eniola. It was a pleasure talking to you guys. I really, really appreciate it. Please let me know if you're interested. I would love to play a part in your success, in your journey, and looking forward to, talking to you guys as well. I mean, is it possible to get a job with the aim of migrating to Canada? So Abiodun, like I said, I mean, if you're not living here, it's always going to be a challenge, but of course it's possible, but everyone wants to make sure that, those tax issues are kind of sorted out. Is there a relationship between being a data analyst and Salesforce? Yes, there are certain overlaps. Salesforce has some data solutions that are overlapped, so that can definitely be overlaps there between data analysis and Salesforce. You could become a data analyst for customer data solutions and things like that. So understanding how Salesforce works and how data is stored in Salesforce can really help you within your data analysis role as well. So just understanding, what is an organization looking for in the data, in the customer data, without understanding Salesforce might be a little bit more difficult to understand that. And I think that would help what you're doing in data analysis as well. Okay, Oladile, thank you so much.